Hey, welcome back. My name's Justin. Today's going to be a super simple video, no fancy editing or in the studio or anything, and we're just going to take a look at what electronic drums are on sale in the month of July in the United States. I'm going to take a look at Edrum Center, Sweetwater, and Guitar Center. Pricing has been crazy because of tariffs. It's not just like this fake thing where all the companies raise prices for no reason. Like, it literally costs them more money to get the kits over here and sell them in the US. But now in the month of July, we are now seeing older prices, and this is a breath of fresh air. So these aren't going to be the crazy deals we've seen in the past, but they're still worth mentioning. So the first deal is the Roland TD-07KV. This drum set is now $950. This isn't a crazy low price. It's like $50 off of like what the kit used to sell for back in the day. But it's an all right kit. The one upgrade here is that you're getting the kick drum tower. I think the cymbals are slightly nicer than the DMK version of the drum set. But, $950 for this kit is pretty fair. I still would direct people to buying the TD-07 DMK though, because it is cheaper. And if you're trying to keep a low budget while still getting the same module and stuff like that, I just think that is a slightly better value. The next deal I want to talk about is the Roland TD-17 KV2. So this drum set costs $1,400, which is what the drum set used to cost. This is a solid kit. Originally, I didn't like the TD-17 KV when they launched it because the ride cymbal didn't have a bell zone, and that was a big deal to me. On this drum set though, with this mid-gen refresh, the KV2, it does have the bell zone now, and at $1,400, this is my currently favorite drum set for this exact price range. So it is a good buy. The next drum set on sale is the TD-17 KVX2. This is now $1,700. So if you're looking to spend this amount of money, you're taking a look at the TD-17 KVX2 and the Yamaha DTX6 drum sets, which we'll cover in a little bit here. So for this price, I think this is a very good buy. For a mid-range drum set, you need to do a couple of key things. You need a hi-hat on a stand that triggers well. You need to have a decent ride cymbal that's large enough and has the bell zone. And you need to have a good module. This checks off all those boxes, and I've been recommending this drum set ever since it got launched. The pricing got kind of crazy though for a while. This was basically like a $2,000 drum set for a while, and this is now $1,700, which is the pricing that it should be at. So yeah, this is a good buy. The next drum set will be the TD-27 line. So we got the TD-27 KV2, which is now back down to $3,000, which I think it used to sell for. For $3,000, I can't think of any other electronic drum set that is better than this for this price. So that's a good buy. You also have the ability to buy it with either the KD-12. So this is the newer kick drum that comes on the VAD-713. It's a bigger kick drum, and I think this addresses a criticism people have with this drum set. People say that, this drum set's great, but the one weakness is the small kick drum. This addresses that problem if you're willing to spend an extra $500. Or you could buy it with what I would actually recommend, which is the KD-180 package. So this will give you an 18-inch shell, though the pad, of course, is the same size as the tower. It just lends more physical presence, and I think it ends up being heavier too. So for an extra $300 over the base version, this is a good buy. The next two drum sets are the Roland VAD-504 and the VAD-507. So this is $5,000 and this is $4,000. These are the prices they used to be at, so it's nice to see them back down here. Because for a while, like the VAD-507 didn't make any sense anymore. Like for a while, it was just way too expensive in the United States. But at $5,000, this is a solid kit that would be worthwhile for a lot of different people. It's got fantastic ride, fantastic snare drum, fantastic hi-hats. The rest of the kit is also solid, of course. The module is not amazing out of the box. Like, it's good, but it's not amazing. But if you use like an expansion pack from the Edrum Workshop or V-Expressions, it brings the full potential out of it. And I just like this kit. It has the acoustic form factor of like the TD-27 KV2. So this is one of my favorite kits on the market. And if you don't need to have two crashes and two high toms, this is $1,000 cheaper. And there are plenty of acoustic drummers that only play with a single crash and a single high tom. So this would make sense for a bunch of people. Though apparently the VAD-507 drastically outsells the VAD-504 because most people want those extra components. The next drum set on sale is the Zildjian Alchemy Gold. So $4,000 for this kit. Honestly, I'm not loving this particular price because it is the same price as the VAD-504, and if I had to choose between them, The Roland kit is just more polished and it's better. The Zildjian drum set has better feeling cymbals though. And the sounds are like more in the room, authentic, like natural sounding, with just very stripped back, natural sounding. But there's like no editing basically to the sounds. So there are pros and cons on each side. I like the feel of these Zildjian cymbals a lot, but they don't trigger as well as the Roland ones. I just think that the Roland V8504, which is the exact same price, is a more polished version. Okay, so that's the first sales page. And as we jump from website to website, be aware that individual drum set prices will match across all music stores because of map pricing. But some websites will list stuff as being on sale for longer than others, which is actually useful for the purpose of this video. The real difference though is not the price of a stock drum set from website to website. The real difference will be store exclusive brands, like how Guitar Center sells Cymbals, but Sweetwater doesn't, or unique kit variations and bundles a particular store dreamed up. If you have a favorite music store though, and you really want a bundle you saw somewhere else or a lower price you saw somewhere else, call your favorite music store and ask them if they can match it. You might be surprised. Okay, so next up, we're going to talk about Sweetwater. I'm sorting everything by call-in savings and price drops. Call-in savings, if you don't know, is when the store is like, hint, hint, you could get a lower price if you called us, but we can't advertise a lower price because of map pricing, which exists in the US, but is illegal in Europe. So let's take a look at the first deal, which we hadn't seen on the previous website, which is the Alesis Strata Prime Expanded Edition. This is $4,500. That's a really good price for a drum set of this sizing. You're getting 5 toms, you're getting 4 crash cymbals, and you're getting a really, really good sounding module. Yes, it is true. You have to work harder inside of the trigger settings. This has a lot of crosstalk out of the box. You can get it in a better place though than what you would experience at a store. It's still not going to trigger quite as good as the Japanese competition, but as far as like value for the number of components and the sound quality, that's the strong suit of this particular drum set. So this price for this drum set is very fair. So next up is the Roland VAD307. So they're advertising that they're going to give you a free hydraulic drum throne and a drum rug, which is valued at $467.98. I've noticed quite often that like the prices may not change, but like they'll throw in a drum rug and a drum throne and stuff like that, so that Roland can retain the brand value of a certain price, but without actually lowering something. The next thing I want to bring up is the Zildjian Alchemy Bronze EX. This is being marked as $3,000, which they're saying is $500 off. So this is kind of like a competitor against the Roland VAD307. It's got the same size kick drum. It's got the sort of like half shell toms. Snare drum is bigger. I think the cymbals are bigger. So, this isn't exactly a competitor, but it, in the neighborhood when it comes to vibes. It's just whether or not you want to buy a first generation product. So I appreciate what Zildjian is doing here. They're swinging for the fences, trying to do some complicated stuff that's difficult to pull off. But I still wouldn't necessarily buy this drum set at this price if you're just asking for an opinion. The next couple of drum sets I want to talk about are the Yamaha kits. So we're going to open this one, we're going to open this one, and we're going to open this one. So right now, the Yamaha DTX 6KX is $900. The DTX 6K2X is $1,280. And the 6K3X, man, these names are hard to say, is $1,700. So pricing across these drum sets doesn't make sense. Well, the middle one doesn't make any sense at all, because for this kind of price, basically $1,300, you really shouldn't have non-premium tom pads. These are basic rubber pads from the 90s, and they don't really make sense in this current decade. So I would skip that one. This drum set makes a little bit more sense, because if I'm comparing this versus the Roland TD07 DMK, the Yamaha does have a few advantages. So it gives you a bell zone. The Roland one, I think you can like assign a bell zone to the edge, but you're not getting a bell zone at this price. The Yamaha has a dedicated kick drum tower. Meanwhile, the Roland one puts it on the drum post. And this is a good kick drum tower, but standalone is better. And the Yamaha module also is best in class. At this price range, $900, there is no company that makes a better drum module. This is really, really good. And the Roland one, even just by looking at it, it looks like a tiny little plastic box. It's good in a bunch of ways. It's very capable, triggers well, does a lot of things right, but it's not quite as good as the DTX Pro by any measure. So the thing though, is that I can point out these little advantages, the ride cymbal, dedicated kick drum, better module. But if the average person is looking at this drum set or this drum set, What will the average person pick up for $900-ish? A lot of people are probably going to go with Roland because of the brand power and because it has mesh toms. Roland already tried to make something kind of like what Yamaha's doing. They made something called the TD17KL, which a lot of people have never played because it sold so badly that Roland discontinued it nearly immediately. It had rubber tom pads and a mesh snare drum, and it turned out that people would rather buy something like a TD07 DMK or a TD07 KV for the, $1,000, or in this case, $880. So this is definitely a better price for Yamaha. And if you're a Yamaha fan that really cares about the bell and you care about the module, this is still decent for the money. But I think the average person is going to gravitate towards Roland for the reasons I specified. This one right here, this is a better price for what this drum set should be. They have now dropped it down, so it's the same price as their mesh version. So the new kit for the year from Yamaha is the DTX6K5M, and that is a very, very solid drum set for $1,700. But if you're more of a TCS fan, they have this one right here for the exact same price. What is not a good drum set for the money is this guy right here. The Yamaha DTX 452K is currently $600, which Sweetwater is listing as a $100 price drop, though I don't know if I can trust that that's the sale price. It may have been this price for a while. This drum set probably should be like $300 because of the fact that it has the rubber tom pads. They do sell a $500 version of this that has no kick drum tower. It has a little pedal for the kick drum tower and a downgraded snare drum that isn't triple zone like this one is, I think. But yeah, Yamaha needs to rework their ultra beginner line so it could be more competitive against like the Elisases and the Cymbals and even the Roland TD02 line. Though the TD02 line from Roland isn't very much to talk about either, if I'm being real. Next up is the Cat Percussion KT150. I played this at NAMM, or at least it might have been this one or a slightly older iteration of this, and the module doesn't sound that great, so I would probably skip this one if we're being real. We don't know what the price is, because while they're saying it's $450, they also say that if you call them, they can give you a lower price. They just can't advertise that lower price due to MAP policies that are effective in the US, but which are illegal in other areas of the world like Europe. The Behringer XD80 USB apparently is still a thing. This should have died many, many years ago. This kit is old as dirt. They're advertising it at $620, and they say if you call them, they'll give you a lower price. Honestly, this is the kind of thing you would buy on Facebook Marketplace for $50 or something. It's not really a drum set that should be taken seriously. The next website I want to cover is Guitar Center. So Guitar Center has a house brand of electronic drums that goes under the Simmons name. And the Simmons Titan 70 is currently on sale for $700, $100 off, 13% discount, and you're getting 4 toms and 2 crashes. This is a decent drum set. They have an app that you can use to edit the kits. I like the way the kit sounds. You can download like better kits from their online source. It's got a decently sized kick drum, metal drum rack. This isn't going to blow you away. It's roughly in the ballpark range of like Elisa's quality, in this range. But for $700, you could definitely do worse. And I like Simmons more, than I feel like enough people give it credit for. I'm not trying to overhype them, but the sounds you get usually around this price range usually suck from a lot of companies. And this one is a bit above the average, and you're getting a lot of components. The next Simmons drum set on sale is the Simmons Titan 20. This costs $280. It's a very basic kit. They don't have a kick drum tower. They have like a KD7 kind of pedal design where a little arm strikes a pad down there. This kind of looks like it might be made of plastic, which kind of worries me, but it may be made of metal, but I just can't tell from here. I'm just telling you what I think it is. Drum rack looks a little bit thin. It doesn't have a bell zone. The thing though is that I can't overly complain. This is a $280 drum set, and you're not getting much for this price better than this. The module is going to be much better sounding than all the random BS that you're going to find on Amazon. These kinds of kits at these prices, you need to view them as disposable. But if you want something new, under $300, this is probably the best you're going to get in the United States at this current point in time. Scrolling down through some other deals, we got an Alesis Nitro Max, which I reviewed on the channel a while ago, this time in red. That's $400. The Alesis Command X Mesh. This one doesn't seem terrible for the price, but the thing is, the module is so freaking old, and the pads haven't really evolved too much. Like, this kind of kit isn't that far away from what I reviewed when the channel was brand new 11 years ago. Scrolling down, we've got the Simmons Titan 50BEX. So this right here is going to give you the second crash and 4 toms instead of 3 for $400. And you're getting the kick drum tower right here. For me, if you're a taller drummer, you might struggle a tad getting the snare drum up high enough, so you might also want to get a cheap snare drum stand off of Amazon. But for this package, it's not a terrible price. Some people just want to get those extra components. Something that kind of irritates me though is that if I can zoom in at all, if there's a better angle, yeah, that's not a good angle. But like these rubber pads, they decided to stop right here. Why not have the rubber just go all the way across, or even just up to where the mount is right there? Why do they have to go that far down? But maybe that's just a nitpick. We also got an Alesis Nitro Pro XL. So this is technically a Guitar Center exclusive. And what makes it exclusive though is that they're just bundling in the second floor tom and the second crash. The main difference here is that the Nitro Pro, like the tom pads are a little bit different. I think they actually have a rim. And then on the snare drum, it's a deeper shell. And I think the drum rack is a little bit heavier. And I guess technically the kick drum is bigger too. So they're doing a bunch of things. This has like a 4-star rating right here. I technically have not reviewed the Nitro Pro. I've just reviewed the Nitro, what was it called? I've reviewed this drum set right here, the Nitro Max. So I'll sort of hold back feedback on this until I actually play a version of the Nitro Pro. The tricky dance that Alesis has to do is that they have to provide like a lot of value because they're getting closer to like the Roland drum sets that people would actually want to buy, like the Roland TD-07 DMK for around the $900 price tag. So they got to keep the price just low enough and include just enough components to be a enticing alternative to like a Roland TD-07 DMK. Okay, so that's about it for the price drops throughout the month of July in 2025. Let me know if you ever want to see these types of videos again in the future. I'm just happy to see that these prices are going back to what they used to be. E-drums were already super expensive. The tariffs cranked it up to a whole new level. And now, at least with this month-long sale, they're settling back to what they used to be in the US. That's the video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one.